Hello and welcome everyone to the Maine Group Candidate Career Coaching Session. This is our first session on LinkedIn. We're doing a LinkedIn Live structure. And for anyone that's been to our previous training or coaching sessions, you know that we are usually on something called webinar jam. So this is a number of firsts. And while we're waiting for people to come into the room, and I don't even know how to see when people are coming in. So it might be that we just go live and we talk away and everyone jumps on and joins us. It's all new to me. Alaina, hi. First of all, I should probably do the introductions. My name is Meeta Sahni. I'm the CEO of the Maine Group. And for those of you who don't know us, I'll talk to you a little bit about our background in a minute. But I'm really excited to be joined by Alaina Mutti. Alaina, how are you doing?
Good, thank you. Thank you for having me on today. Also, my first time on here.
Indeed. Well, I tell you what, this is quite the story because Alaina, you've been on your own career journey, which I think is going to intersperse through what we're going to talk about today. But actually, you've also been a candidate of the Maine Group, and now you're working with us in the business, and you're actually working alongside me as my business assistant for now, right?
Yes, exactly. So quite the diverse journey I think I've had to get here, but now I'm excited, obviously being on this one with you guys, from being a candidate to actually working with you too.
I love that. And for everyone who's watching or who might be watching recording after, we really hope that these coaching sessions bring you what you're looking for at this time, because you can watch the same recording and get something from it that the next time you might not be in a position ready to receive that information. So today, Alaina and I are going to walk you through 3 or 4 different areas that we feel are really key at the moment because of what's going on out there. People talk about the Great Resignation. We're talking about the war on talent. And, you know, at the Maine Group, we've been established over 30 years. We've seen everything from, you know, the mini .com bubble recession, which lasted about 2 minutes, to the big 2008 recession, which lasted years. I personally have been on that journey with the Maine Group for over 20 years, and I bought the business out 10 years ago because I just really liked the way we did business. And so my aim and my intentions with these candidate career coaching sessions is to help you, you know, unpick all of what's going on in your mind or your experience and actually create a plan and a path for yourself. Alaina, that's something you do naturally, right? It's something that you've started to approach and utilize.
Yeah, I guess as I was saying to you obviously before, just then, we started with my entire career progression. I've kind of gone from different roles over the last probably just under 10 years.
Yeah.
Going from PR to sales to now obviously business assistant. So dynamic.
It's almost like you've collected skills and experiences that are allowing you to reflect on which parts you love, which parts aren't so much for you, so that ultimately you're able to create a career of choice.
Yeah, definitely. I think obviously that's just what comes with time anyway, as with anything, that you like learn more about yourself and about what you do and don't like.
Yeah.
But definitely from each job I've had, I've not only learned something new, but then also been able to transfer all of those skills onto the next one,
Yeah.
which has definitely helped me in like so many different ways.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing that journey and also bringing in the Maine Group's experience and expertise into how to help anyone who's attending today's session to navigate their own career journey and find that role of their dreams. So there's 4 areas that we're going to be looking at today. The first is how to make sure that you're going to get the role of your dreams. And Alaina, you also have a big, strong interest in well-being, and not just in the workplace, but actually we use different terminology, but sort of almost having the pillars of well-being in home, in self, in work. Is that right? How would you describe it?
Yeah, obviously it was kind of 2 years ago when I decided to get into that entire well-being, personal development world, and now just incorporating it into more of a lifestyle throughout my work, my relationships and health
Yeah.
in general, and really learning how to have that balance, as you and I always talk about,
Yeah.
and how to put that throughout each 3 pillars of your life.
Exactly. So for me, those pillars are self, or the language I use, self, family, and work, whether that's business, career, being an employee. It's the time you spend on what you do rather than who you are. And then the family is who you're with. So we're going to look at, as we said, finding the role of your dreams. We're then going to think and talk a little bit about how to create a winning brand for yourself. So once you've worked out who you are and therefore what you want to do, then let's brand yourself in a way, because your employers, when you send your CV, they've got a digital footprint. They don't know who you are. So let them choose you even without knowing you. What are you going to put out there and what you stand for? And once you've got that all-important interview, we're going to help you very briefly today. Alaina, we were saying that we could probably run individual webinar sessions on each of the topics we're going to cover, but we wanted to give you some morsels, golden nuggets of useful tricks and ways to help you along the recruiting yourself into a role, putting yourself in a role, so nailing the interview and how to really smash that. And then finally, and actually what Alaina and I feel runs throughout the theme for today, is the well-being.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get started. So in terms of picking the role of your dreams, Alaina, you very, very, much at the start said that you are on a journey. You've tried different things. You're evolving into who you are and where you are now. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I guess from, as we were saying, a kind of candidate's point of view, my whole journey so far. So like I was saying, I have gone from PR when I first started. So after I left university, I'd actually done an internship with that company. And then when I graduated, went straight into working for them.
Okay.
And I think that was the initial thing that threw me into the deep end, into the work world. And obviously kind of grew my thick skin from PR, with having tight deadlines, and obviously different kind of timing schedules, everything like that, fast paced, because we were dealing with the press, obviously. And then from there, I just kind of went on, and like we were saying, developing just the different skills. I think although that was a very tough time, just being quite fresh out of uni and being so used to a more relaxed life, and as I said, thrown into the deep end, it really set me up for the kind of stepping stone for growing the skills that I need to get the next jobs I do. So whether that's learning how to be confident on the phone, writing emails, like all the kind of basics that you have to, I think, have to then go into more sales roles, and developing that side of my career for the different companies that I work for, to now realizing, obviously here being a business assistant, that actually I love that. I know I've only been here for a few weeks, but like I love it already with what I'm doing, because I love having different things to do in my day. And that's obviously what comes with this all the time. And I've always loved working closely with the boss. That's just always been my thing. And that's why I've tended to go for smaller companies to work with. So you have more of a say in what happens in the company. And obviously, because I hope to run my own company one day. So learning from the top guys is, I think, the best way to go. And I think it's just helped me with lots of different skills, like I said, from knowing how to cope, deal with people, how to have a different build rapport with them, and confidence, like I said before. So
and that's literally helped me walk through what I would be suggesting and recommending people think about when they are looking for the role of their dreams. So first and foremost, my questions that I would ask you to reflect on are: what really motivates you? And when you get up in the morning, usually you've got a little feeling, and it's linked to something. So take time to reflect on that. And from that, really do the pros and cons of what you've done so far. Even at university, you will have worked in teams where you're actually collaborating. You'll have worked on your own, where you're sitting in front of a computer, and you'll know which you prefer. And from that, you can start to define the traits and skills that are required for a role, and that will allow you to then move forward into that space, rather than just, thinking, oh, I'm just going to take another job. And I think temping is really good. I think if someone isn't sure what they want to do, intern, temp, do contract work, try different environments. I think that, that then gives you a point of reflection. You're not just sort of imagining what it might be like, you're testing the waters. Obviously, the fundamentals that you have to think about, financials, what you need to earn. Obviously, people are working in a hybrid way now, but there's a range of that. Some organizations want people 100% hybrid at working from home. Others want them in 4 or 5 days. Establish for you what feels right for you. And also, if you're starting out in a role, I think it's really important to allow yourself to be in and around people more. Alaina, you were just saying working with business leaders and working with people who are at the front line, you get so much more if you're around them rather than they sit at home, you sit at home. So mix it up, work out what you're going to need to push forward, and be honest. What do you love and what do you hate? So if you do some of that reflecting, then you can start to revisit the types of roles you want to go for. And Alaina, you said that during the pandemic, you actually did a big shift into setting up your own webinar. And I think a lot of people are doing that reflecting right now, aren't they?
Yeah, obviously had lots of time from the lockdowns to reflect and think about just, I guess, who I am, what direction I'm going in, what I want from my career, everything like that. And again, as I mentioned to you before, I've always dreamed of running something of my own one day. And then that was where I had to start thinking about that kind of direction, what I'm doing. Obviously, like you said, though, you have got a life to pay for, in which case you can't, unfortunately, just sit back and then do all the learning without doing a job. But as you were just saying, actually, with the temping, obviously, I first came to you guys in 2017, where you placed me in my first ever temp job. And I think that's also not, I don't know, just displayed enough in terms of, one, temp roles obviously pay a bit more too, which I never realized until I did it. And also, like you said, to just get an idea of a company, of that role, of what it is. I don't think there's any harm in doing those kind of part-time jobs. But obviously, go back, the pandemic, gave me that time just to self-reflect and think about where I'm going. And then I started hosting the webinars myself with speakers who I get in to talk about, as we were saying before, the pillars of, family, professional, and work, and your health, just to have that all-rounded approach. Because then, again, like you were saying, once you know what you like, what you don't like, where you're going, what you're doing, what you want, what's your motivation in the morning, once you find those things and nail down those things, I think then you can have a better sense of direction of where you're going, and then make better decisions about something like a job that you want to apply for.
Yeah. And when you do that and you find that role, and it may not be the first time, but you will find what you're looking for, work will stop feeling like work and it will flow better, and your well-being will be enhanced because you're in an environment that flows with you rather than against you. So I think it takes a lot of self-searching. And as always, we're here for the next 30 to 40 minutes, but we are available. We have an Instagram page with lots of advice. Link in with us on LinkedIn, and we also have a Facebook page. So within all of those environments, we will be sharing knowledge, expertise, tips and tricks to help you. If you do want to talk to somebody about redefining what role you want, we can help you there too. Now, looking at the next spot, looking at, you've worked out what role you want, then you move on to thinking about, well, who am I? What do I want to be known for? I know what I want to do. I know where I want to go, but how am I going to demonstrate this person that I am out to the market? If I'm going to new employers, how do I portray myself? And Alaina, you've got a bit of a story about that, haven't you?
Yes, I do. Again, are you talking obviously with my kind of
presentation?
Obviously. So I think that was one thing in terms of, again, going back to self-reflection within the last 2 years, it was that question of, okay, who am I, and how do I want to present myself, because of the personal brand, obviously because of the club I have for all of the personal development. I was constantly trying to figure out, okay, who do I want to show up as? And then obviously if I'm going for job interviews or just meeting other people, who is that? Because at one point, obviously I had a meeting with someone who at first, point blank, took me to be one way. And then until getting to know me, realized I was actually a bit deeper rooted and had more to me. There was more than what was on the surface, which was a classic kind of don't judge a book by its cover.
But it happens. This is the thing. It's, employers don't know you. They don't know how amazing you are. All they see is names and words on a page. And your personal brand, anyone's personal brand, is going to get them noticed without even trying. What is LinkedIn if not your personal brand? Really, what employers want, regardless of what you can do. I've got a set of traits here that every employer would want to see. So the fact that you're positive, the fact that you're enthusiastic, that you are hardworking, that one is engaged, and that you're knowledgeable, that you have hobbies. What are those hobbies, and what do they say about you? And it's not that you're creating a shop. It's not that you're creating a world that they want to see. You create your world, but in a way that reflects who you are. So not just saying, oh, I love to cook. I'm interested in trying new experiences, and therefore I like to cook food from different cuisines. So it's just how you present yourself, and it's really important for you to be able to stand out and be noticed for all of those things. That way, people are thinking, well, I want this person. They look so interesting, and they've got the skills, and they've got the career experience, and it makes them. And every employer, without doubt, will, if we're submitting a resume to a client, I know that our client will also do a social media check. So make sure that your real practical tip, make sure that your dates on your social media pages and LinkedIn reflect your dates on your CV. Really little attention to detail is key.
Yeah. I think back to when it was an interview that I had for a previous job, and I remember the employer, when I went in for it, the boss, the MD, she sat and actually she said, look, I don't care about this piece of paper. I want to know who you are. And she was like, I haven't read your CV. She hadn't even really looked at the CV, hadn't taken it. But I really appreciated that from, again, like a candidate's point of view, because like, how much can you present on paper? Like, I know myself that once I'm in front of someone, I can sell myself. But words on a paper can't really do that. But then trying to match it up to at least show this is my experience and my skill set. And now when I'm in front of you, I can express that. So it's even learning then also how you can express that properly and get that across, which I think just comes obviously from experience and practice.
It does, but that, for me, that is authenticity. That is who you are when someone's watching or not. And in this hybrid working world, employers need to know that you're going to be that person 24/7. You don't have a work face and a personal face, or a going out face, or a facing client face. You are you. We would, you and I, when we were prepping earlier, we were talking about the fact that doing all that self-reflection about working out what the role of your dream is, making sure that you've got the well-being balance between self, family, and work, and then creating that brand. Who's turning up to that interview? Which element? And we were saying that actually, to be authentic, you bring all of you, but you set the part that needs to deliver at the time steps forward, if you like. About being multi-layered, I suppose, was the phrase.
Yeah, exactly. I think again, I've had that just throughout the different roles, and realizing what my strong suits are, and like you said, then that kind of layer comes out to present yourself, or myself in this case, as the worker, Alaina. But at the end of the day, I think who your core personality is will just always come out anyway, especially if you have taken the time to really almost get to know yourself and what you want. It just comes across, I think, in an interview. Like, you can read within a second of a person's kind of vibe and personality, and things like that. So
yeah. And I have to say, being here on LinkedIn Live, apparently comments and things show up, but I'm not quite at the stage where I'm able to share that. So I apologize if you've made a comment and I haven't noticed it. At the same time, this is the first in a series. So the more we get into the habit, the more that everyone will be able to interact and have their comments spoken about and noted as well. I think I'm going to go back and watch this and see how it came across and see what we can improve on. But the content is absolutely spot on. I mean, Alaina, it's very helpful and very open of you to share your own experience, because it's all very well us from a consultancy space and advisory space to our candidates saying, do this, do that, do this, do that. But actually, you are somebody that's walked the walk and have seen the strengths and challenges of this journey. Tell me about a time, before we step into how you nailed that all important interview, tell me about where the challenges have been for you over the last few years.
When it comes to finding a job, or just
your journey? Yeah, but a bit of both, whichever stands out for you, because I think anyone watching or listening, oh look, we have a hello. So Jim, hi, thank you. I have a comment from you, so hello, good to have you on board. And if anyone else is out there in the tech world on our LinkedIn Live, please jump in and say hello as well. And if you have any comments as well, or thoughts or questions, we will happily resolve your queries here and now. We've got the answers. You have the questions, we have the answers. So, sorry, Alaina, back to you.
Yeah, I would say actually it does stem from a job at the time when, in terms of my struggles, was I just wasn't happy in my career anymore, and I think again I'd lost sight of the direction I was going in, and that is what forced me to have to jump into doing a bit of a self-audit.
I like that, self-audit.
A self-audit. I encourage everyone to do a self-audit every now and then, just as a way of checking in with yourself and seeing if you're still on the right track. Because I think that's when, if you don't and you get into that kind of groundhog or just autopilot mode, that's when you kind of get to the point of realizing, actually, I'm not entirely sure I'm doing what I want to be doing. And then that's the feeling that you get, I think, when you feel a bit lost. And I think obviously our careers are a huge thing that make up our everyday lives. So
people put careers before relationships. A lot of people put careers before relationships.
Yeah.
And I see us as a matchmaking world. You know, we may not be matchmaking two people personally, but we're matchmaking two worlds that are going to collide and either align or fall apart. Now, our job is to make sure they align and stay on the same path together. And the beauty is that, people, it's a win-win. Our clients get great people in their world, and our candidates have really happy careers. So when it works beautifully. And that's why I love doing what we do. But don't you think that in this time, there's been so much turmoil? People are so thrown up into the air, and not everyone's really landed where they want to be yet.
Yeah, I mean, I know that from obviously firsthand myself of the company I was with. Sadly, they had to go under, and from the knock-on effect of the pandemic. And friends too. I know friends who, either whether they were made redundant to or decided to make a career change because then actually it was the right time. I think there have been benefits and also disadvantages to obviously what's happened. But yes, in terms of some people are still obviously not quite landing on their feet. It's tricky and turmoil, like you said. But I think also it's an exciting time then, because you almost have a bit of a nudge into getting a fresh start.
Yeah, many people may not have taken that leap into their next career space, but this environment has maybe pushed them to it. So yeah, that's a really good way of looking at it. Today we've spent a lot of time talking about the overviews of the career journey and what people out there might be thinking about. What we will be doing in the coming weeks and months is really drilling down into each of these subjects, even going into more detail into, how you create a value system for yourself as an employee looking for a new job. actually, we can help you write your personal brand. We can help you write your CV. We can prep you for your interview. Even if you're not interviewing through us, you can say, right, Meeta and team, I've got an interview, help me with it. Because as you'll see, as we're about to cover, this approach doubles people's chances of getting an offer from interview. So, and actually right through to how you behave in your first 100 days in a new role. It's all very well being placed into a job by a consultancy and then off you go and you meet your new employers. But how do you bring that best self when it's all so new? It's like being yourself on a first date. Who is ever really completely themselves? But we want to help you find that rhythm so that you can really embed. And a lot of that is to do with culture and values fit as well.
Yeah, I think, it's one thing as well, again, just kind of having several different jobs. I used to think of it as a bit of a downside because I'd had friends who maybe were in a career for 5 years and you just have that real, I don't know, solid input. But actually, I feel like now I've gone from a few like different companies. When I'm interviewing, I know exactly what questions I need to ask. I know exactly what answers I want to hear as to whether I want to even join the company. And really also just kind of put my foot down onto some things that maybe when I first started off, I would have just brushed under the carpet or thought, I'll get used to it, or I'll learn, but actually to learn how to establish really, really what you will and won't desire and want and do right at the start. I think that's what makes a happy relationship between employee and employer, and then also what obviously makes you stay on and keep going. And I don't know, that's why I think it's a mix of just getting experience, but then also being prepped and trained properly and building your confidence up to be able to just speak up and say, well, what about the salary? What about the hours? What about whatever it is?
Absolutely. I agree. I think the interview process is a meeting of minds. It's not the client choosing, our clients choosing our candidates or our candidates choosing our clients. It's equal. For it to work and for this match to take fruition, it's got to be both choosing each other. And I've got some more good mornings. Thank you for saying hi, everyone. Hello to James. Hello to Zachary. It's working. That's really good. I won't be quite the novice next time, but like I said, if anyone out there has comments or thoughts or questions, please feel free to share. Now that I know they're coming up, we'll be happy to answer. But one of the things I did want to think about was going in for an interview. And Alaina, you spoke about asking questions. I think it's, if someone was getting married, if they wrote some vows, they would practice those vows, I hope, write them and practice them well before. And as I said, many people put their careers even before relationships. So why would you not go into an interview without having thought about, right, who am I going to be sitting in front of? Let me research the employer. Let me research the individual I'm meeting. Let me research some of the other people in their team. LinkedIn throws so much out there now. And also you'll have met, you potentially will have met people before. If you're represented by a recruitment consultant, then ask them these questions and start to build a picture of who they are. Look at websites and social media to see what language they use, what their values are, what they're doing right now. Really immerse yourself in their world. And then, as you said, Alaina, start thinking about what you want to get from this interview. So I think it's really important to show interest. I think the biggest fail for anyone is no, I don't have any questions. And sometimes what you're actually saying is, you know what, I had 6 questions. These were the questions, but you've answered them all. And then you have your backup questions, which are, well, what would be the next step to this process? Or is there anything from today's meeting with me that makes you think that I'm not right for the role? And therefore, what could I do to overcome that? How many other people do you have in this process? What does a 5-year career look like? So you can almost have your core questions and then some backup questions. So you can really show that interest. So I think that's really important. Yeah. The other thing is doing a run through really obvious stuff. Where is the interview? If it's on Zoom, get your background and your lighting right. I mean, God, Alaina and I being on LinkedIn Live this morning, I was sort of saying, I don't feel like I'm actually looking into the camera. So make sure you've got your height, your light, your presentation. Oh yes, it's the fire alarm going, haven't you?
I think it must be. Oh, it's gone.
Yeah, it's the everything at 11:30.
Always on a Thursday. Why is it always? I swear, any company I've worked for, it's Thursdays at 11 o'clock.
Right. Don't they know we've got a live webinar to do?
Don't they know they're interrupting?
So, and also dress code is really key. I mean, I don't know if everyone knows, but just this week they took a suit off the inflation price index. So if people aren't wearing suits for gentlemen, what are they wearing? You know, if you're zooming from home, do you wear the same as you would wear if you went into an interview? I would say yes. I would actually ask your again, if you've got an agent in between, ask them what the dress code is. If not, ask your person you're meeting or the person that brought you into the company for an interview. You know, what is the dress code for? And don't be afraid to ask. Say, look, so much has shifted. You don't want to turn up not looking like you're part of that tribe. What you bring to the table should make them feel like you're already part of their world when you attend an interview.
Yeah. One thing I've always taken with me is I'd rather be overdressed than underdressed. So if I've ever gone for an interview, I mean, I always ask anyway, be it through a recruiter or I just try and find pictures of their offices and then I'll look at the staff or something like that.
And your social media to see.
Yeah, you can see exactly, like these days you can, stalk anything and anyone and find out your information. Yeah, so you can do that and see their image of what it's like. I mean, websites are a giver anyway, or indication, but I always go like smart, even if I know that they're a bit casual anyway, especially if you're going into a less corporate company.
You've got a blazer on.
Yeah, just something, blazer or smart shoes. Shoes are always, I think, my mum's or my dad, one of them, just always saying about shoes, when people look at them, it's a real telling sign of like you taking care of yourself. Sorry, just reading that now as it comes up.
We've got a question from Jim. Hi, Jim. Okay. So Jim's question is, how do you deal with flaky recruiters? I am currently getting an average of 3 recruiters contacting me per day.
More than half.
And since then, and I've put that I'm open, since you put that you're open to opportunities, more than half of those don't reply, even after the first exchange. And then they say, Jim, I've got a role, sounds interesting, set up a call, and then nothing. Oh, Jim, it's hard. This is the challenge of, I would say, there's a horrible phrase that's like spray and pray, put everything out there and hope something comes back. I think for you to get good engagement with a recruitment organization is to test how well they respond. So we have our approach, which is that we have a network that we reach out to who are pre-engaged candidates that we have in our world. We then will always advertise to see if there's anybody new out there. And we will say to everyone that, look, if you respond, we will reply, whether it's that you've been successful or not. If, however, it's a tentative, let's catch up, unless you can go in and say, listen, this is the role I'm interested in, then they may not be able to, because they don't know you. They've got an idea that you might be right, but they don't know you well enough. So first of all, it's not personal, as hard as that is, because you're looking for that role. What I would say is if they get in touch, go onto their website, look for specific roles, apply for the roles that you feel are right for you, and then follow that up and say, you got in touch, you haven't come back to me. However, I've done the work and I can see that I'm right for these roles and I'd like to talk to someone. And I think that way it's taking control of your partnership with this recruiter rather than letting them come to you at their time. They're not being flaky because they're not interested. They're usually talking to clients about you, talking to other candidates. It's a high volume, very intense environment. And sometimes the experience on the other side isn't good. And that's something we are always working towards improving, because you are our clients and our customers as much as our clients. As I said before, it's a matching of 2 worlds, and we've got to make sure that you are happy on that journey as well. So I hope, does that help at all? Do you think that might get you a little bit more traction? Let me know. They contact me about a specific role, head of e-commerce, for example. Okay. So then what I would make sure you do is that you submit your application. And if they don't reply, they should at least send you a reply to say, if we don't get in touch, it means you've not been successful. And I think you can ask for feedback. I think you can turn around and say, well, look, what was it? I'm starting to look for a new role. What was it that that meant you didn't shortlist me? What else would you like to see on my CV? And it's actually having those consultancies like ourselves who want to help, not just help find themselves someone to place, but actually help you get the right career and coach you through that career. And so that's what we're trying to do at the Maine World. And I hope that you can partner with organizations that do that for you as well, and recruiters that do that for you, because they are out there. I know we've got quite a few of them in our world. And Jim, you can reach out to me directly and I can give you some coaching as well. At the moment, all of our online webinars are going to be free of charge. We want to make them complimentary to our network to give you support along the way. But if you do want to sign up for any specific career coaching, then get in touch and we can arrange that for you as well. Okay, thank you. And again, as I said, you can inbox me with any updates or any other questions. Okay, so
interviewing.
Yeah, so first of all, so where were we with the interview? So we were talking about how you present.
Yeah.
I would literally suggest, if you don't know where you're going, do a trial run, get up there, see how long it takes, leave half an hour early, never arrive too early, because that also puts your interviewer under pressure. Get there within 5 minutes of the time. But again, you might have to arrive downstairs and the interview's upstairs 6 floors with so much security. So just buy yourself time, turn up calm, relaxed, ready. I'm a big fan of a notebook. Have your questions written down. Say, listen, I hope you don't mind. I like to be organized. I don't want to forget anything. This is a really important interview for me. I'd like to make some notes along the way. They're not going to mind. If anything, it shows engagement. And again, it shows a meeting of minds rather than them interviewing you. It's a two-way street.
Yeah. I'll never forget when again, an employer, when I was in the interview as well. Oh no, this was when I'd got the job with them. So now I was working for them. And they were hiring more people. Like, this was a few months after. And I remember someone showed up, I think it was about 15 minutes early. And again, I remember the MD just being like, oh, I hate it when they come so early. And I remember sitting there thinking, wow, it's so funny, because I think, especially when you start out in your career and like job hunting and everything, you always think like, be early, be on time, show up there to show you're eager. But actually, then the too early is a bit like, no, because they're still having their breakfast or coffee, or they're getting their notes about you, or they're
meeting.
Or they're in a meeting with another member of staff, and they can't come and greet you. But it's just funny. I remember, I'll never forget that when she said about just not reading the CV and then just not being too early either. And I think in terms of questions, the questions having prepared as well, that's always a good kind of thing to keep in your back pocket. My kind of question is always, if they've already answered everything, because a lot of the time it happens too that all of the questions get answered. I think my one was always like, what's the company's plans over the next 5 years for growth, or where do you see yourself the company going? Because that also for you then, in terms of career progression, you can kind of get an idea of, is there going to be progression for you if they're saying, oh no, we're not going to expand in the next 5, you know what I mean?
Where we are.
What's my role then? So again, like you said, two minds coming together, but then it also just shows, I think, interest in the whole organization. So that was always one.
I think that's a brilliant one. And if they do answer all your questions, I think it's a really good approach to say, actually, I had this question and that question and that question. I actually list out those questions and say, but you've answered those, so thank you for that. And now is my final couple. So, I think the other thing is always to express an interest, and as you're going, shake their hands, thank them for their time, say, I am really interested in this opportunity, and I really hope I hear from you. I don't think employers, and you can flatter them. I think you're a great organization, love what you stand for, love the product you sell, love your sustainability policy, whatever it is that stands out for you. Again, you're bringing your authentic self to the table, which means it's not just the job you do, but who you are, what you stand for, and what you want from your working environment that you can demonstrate. And if they resonate with you, and you they feel culturally aligned, it'll almost be like you're already working together. They can imagine it, and if they can imagine working with you, you've done half the work. Then it's about making sure those skills and being able to demonstrate those skills. And I think we'll do a competency-based session as well, because so many employers want you to bring to life your experiences in a way that not everyone has the ability to. It's a bit like a recipe. I asked my mum how to make my traditional dal recipe, and she'll be sort of like, well, you just make it. But actually what I need is a step-by-step Jamie Oliver approach of a bit of this and a bit of that. So essentially that's really what this is about, is being able to break down what you do and distill it with clarity and system and thinking. So competency-based approach is really important too when you're prepping for interviews. Alaina, we've hit the 40-minute mark, so I think we should probably wind it up for today. We've had people attending, we've got comments, we've had questions. Feels like it's been a successful first career coaching session. Really hope that whether you're live on with us now or you watch this afterwards, that it's been a useful session for you. And Alaina, thank you so much for being here with me and opening up about your journey and experience as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I've loved it. It's been great to discuss it and give both sides, so it's good.
Indeed. And as a sort of parting comment, I think the work that you and I spoke about, getting the balance of career, self and family, and making sure that your well-being flows through it, not just something you switch on and off. I'm at work, I'm not going to think about my well-being, I'll do that when I go home. That's not the future, and that isn't a sustainable model. So whatever you're doing, whatever stage you're at, whether you're evaluating your values, you're going to that interview, or you're actually working, think about your well-being and how you can bring that into your day-to-day life.
Yeah.
Lovely. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. And we look forward to seeing you next month for another candidate career coaching session. Alaina, thank you so much. Bye all.
Bye.